Okay, starting the second turn of King Phillips War. Let's see if Church comes in here. And the roll's close, but not sufficient. So, we have the English reinforcements. They're going to get their colonials here. Let's see what we get. 2 Massachusetts. Massachusetts is the green. This is all listed right here. 1 orangish Plymouth. That's the red. 1 Rhode Island. And 1 Connecticut. I have to worry because no, we're not at enough to bring the Narragansetts in yet. So they're not really a danger. Connecticut still has to worry about them in general, but some of the other colonies a little less so. Okay, so now where do these suckers get placed is the question. Any settlement or company of the same colony. Okay, so it's going to be a basic decision of just trying to figure out where these troops can go. I want to keep my Rhode Islanders together. I want to maximize my force with them. Over here in Plymouth, I kind of want to spread my forces actually so that I can gather multiple. I have 2 leaders. I kind of want to protect both of them. Connecticut, well, we'll upgrade New London, get more defenses there. And finally here in Massachusetts, I'm going to concentrate the forces that I have that are kind of excess forces so that I can bring them into play more easily. Right now, the Nipmunks are probably the closest of their real threats, so increasing the force there seems reasonable. It's a long way until the Abenakis come into play, so I don't really have to worry about them yet. So I'll probably be trying to move from Salem to get some reinforcements into some of the, say, the Plymouth colony, or maybe even somewhere else like Connecticut. It's going to be tough, because Connecticut has a limited frontage, and I can't move over these 2 pip spaces until Church comes into the game. Alright, well, we move on to Indian diplomacy. There's none available with the only 1 colony destroyed, 1 colonial settlement destroyed. I'm not allowed to try to get anyone else. So I simply can't do that. And now we move to the Indian reinforcements. We'll have some this turn. Let's put them onto play. We have a Saconat, and I'm going to again increase the size of their force. Worried less about defending myself than attacking the enemy right now. And the same situation here with the Pocasets, although they're at a bit of risk, and I may have to deal with this captain. Now I have muskets, and I can assign these only where they have a port or a river connection. And right now, I don't think they have that anywhere. They're going to want to get themselves into such a situation to get these extra troops. But right now, they're just going to have to put them off for another turn. That's a shame, but it's only a 1 strength point advantage. I don't think it's something you make as a major goal in your game. Well, now I'm going to get to move my Indians, and I got 5 movement actions and still 5 stacks, I believe. So I'll figure out what I'm doing. So let's take a look at what's happened with the first battles of the turn. The Indians only placed 4 battle markers. One, they marched down to Martha's Vineyard and attacked Edgartown, took that, burnt it. They're going to be able to get their muskets there. That's one of the things. Alternatively, they could also get them from Portsmouth, which they also attacked and similarly burned. Philip went in and burned Rehoboth. But the massacre roll has come up a couple of times, and that's allowed Rhode Island to put a couple of forces here to face this guy. So now they're still outnumbered 6-5, but that battle has to still be conducted, and they've got a lot more forces there than they would have otherwise defending them. The alert of all the burnings going on has made it a serious issue. And what we get is, okay, an ambush, the non-ambush. So I think the affected player is ambushed, and in this case it's the Indians who are affected because it's an odd roll. Yep. So he's going to take his losses first. 5 SPs with a 3 means he's going to take a hit. And now he's only got 5 SPs coming back. With a 4, he does 2 to the natives, or to the Rhode Islanders. Now here's the question. Do the Rhode Islanders want to take losses here? And the answer is actually yes. Because they're out of reinforcements. So they're going to lose one of these units completely. Now that gives a victory point to the Indians for that loss. But it preserves the village, prevents further raidings from happening as quickly. And what we see now is the provisions lost is up to 4, which means we have a lot of different choices of tribes that we can go diplomacy next time. The Narragansetts, of course, but the Nipmunks and the Neantics, which give us either of these. Now, my goal is to wipe out Rhode Island. In doing so, it seems like the Narragansetts are what I'm going to want. But bringing them in early brings in, what's his name, Canalchet a little earlier, which puts a risk of a loss there. Now I've got to go to the colonial turn and see what's going to happen there, because the natives left themselves kind of open down here with the Sakonets to Winslow. He can make some movement there, which maybe looks not terribly risky because he's not really facing anything. Elsewhere, well, obviously I'm going to move against the Pocasets as well, and basically put the threat and the hurt on these tribes that aren't defending their territory. We'll see how this all works out. And on the English side, there was a lot of violence as well. The English came in here and managed to do a successful, well, not terribly successful, but something of an attack on here. They're trying to reduce the strength facing Rhode Island right now, basically. Winslow raised this village. Now, he didn't want to advance because he couldn't go anywhere from there except back where he came from. So now he can raise this next village. But this one's completely protected from him unless he can get through, or someone can get through Portsmouth. Just until Church comes in, the movement options are so limited for the colonists. And over here we had something kind of interesting. We had a successful attack, but the spy roll came up. It came up on the English, which means this captain now has a native spy in his force, which means he's going to suffer several penalties for movement, reaction type movement. I think it even affects combat. Yeah, it even affects combat over here. So he's got a little bit more trouble. Plus, he could be forced to make a reroll in combat, in which case he could end up losing a battle he otherwise would have won. Alright, I think that's the turn. We check the victory conditions. One thing we can see, both sides are up on victory points. We're not anywhere near the end of the game for victory points. So the English are willing to lose, say, full troops that they can rebuild, etc., in order to pump those up. And both sides are also up on the provision losses, which is going to affect things come winter if that's not cleared up, as well as being a possible tiebreaker or whatever for the victory conditions, and affecting the alliances for the Indians, which is their prime reason for burning stuff, is they want to convince the other tribes, hey, we can actually fight this. One problem that I see immediately is bringing lots of other tribes in, you still only get to move 5 stacks. So while it might help in defending these sort of initial tribes that are in a really precarious position, what it's not going to do is it's not going to allow overwhelming application of force on the attack. These can't continue attacking, and the Narragansetts also attack. It becomes kind of, just having a lot of force doesn't necessarily mean that you can apply it all. Alright, so we'll move on to the third turn here. Okay, let's jump into the third turn here of King Phillips War. Quick roll for Church, and he's not coming in this turn either. And then we have the English reinforcements, which come as normal. 2 Massachusetts, they're green. Plymouth, a Rhode Island, and a Connecticut. Let's see how I'm filled here. Massachusetts, I've got to put somewhere in Massachusetts. Now I'm worried they're going to bring in one of their, I'm willing to give up Brookfield. I think what I'll do is I'll put additional reinforcements here at Dedham. Reinforce here. This seems a good place with leader. And finally here in Rhode Island, I want to keep pushing on to take that town. If I can save Rhode Island from falling completely, that's great. But knocking this out seems to be my goal right now. Alright, and now we go to the Indian reinforcements. Well, first we go to their diplomacy. And we haven't seen this before, so I want to kind of look at the rules again. I'm just not sure where Philip goes. He goes to any one of their village spaces, and he can take something with him. A unit with him, which will increase his overall strength. I'm going to go for the bigger force here. Bring them into play. Like I said, I want to finish off Rhode Island as fast as I can. And now, that's going to give me 12 total units, an initial force of 4, a Sachem, and Canochet. Wow, that doesn't give me a lot of different forces. But I think I kind of have to. Have to build up to this. Now, on top of that, I'm going to get 2 per turn in reinforcements. It's not going to be this turn. I think. Let's see. Make sure that's not this turn, because it would be very helpful if they got reinforcements this turn. Well, given that reinforcements are listed after the diplomacy, again, I'm not terribly into looking up every single rule, but it looks to me like they get reinforcements on the turn they come. It looks like they're going to get reinforcements starting this turn because the wording is prior to being allied with Philip, a tribe does not receive reinforcements. Well, the diplomacy is where they become allied, so that helps a little bit. And I want to put some defense against New London, but now I get 2 additional. I'll give one of them to Philip. I don't think he needs more at this point. And the other one's going to Canochet. He's going to get 3. We have some additional forces coming in. Green's all full up, so I have to put some defense for them. And yellow, I think, is also all full up. So I'll increase their defenses. I'll increase them where they're able to be attacked. How about muskets? I have a few places I can put muskets. I could put them up here. Which isn't a terribly good place. I'd rather give them to this Sasha and over here to this one. They can do that because those are ocean-going ports. They can also get them along the river lines. And now we'll move to the Indian movement and combat, and I'll come back after I've done that, show what happens. But remember, they only get 5 actions, even though they have more stacks on the board. Largely, I didn't move anything, but I committed to a number of battles, including one up against here at Wickford, a couple of different battles at Providence to make it more likely that I take it. If I fail in the first shot, maybe Philip can take it in the second. Moving up here to Sandwich, which is dangerous for the British because that's going to get them so that Plymouth is directly under threat. They're going to have to make a decision there whether or not they're going to pull forces back to defend Plymouth. They really can't let it just fall, so they may have to withdraw from their offensive actions a little bit. Now, one thing to note here, though, is there's an attack here on Warwick coming across from here, and I want to try to intercept there. So, I'm going to move that captain forward on an interception. Number of pips in the connection is just 1. It's got to be 1. He's got a captain that's +2. He doesn't have any modifiers other than that. So he needs a 3 or better because you need a 5 for your target. He doesn't get that, so that attack's going to be made. The attacks that stand are going to last as they do. Alright, I'll roll them up and come back. Okay, after the battles we see kind of mixed results here. The natives were able to advance into Sandwich. That was not difficult at all. They were also able to destroy Warwick, although they didn't want to advance. They want to keep the opportunity to react into Montauk, where it's already threatened from Taunton. However, over here, they had basically a dual failure. They failed to take it from here, which was their big one, and Philip still had to attack, and he also failed. In one of the battles, I'm not sure it was that one, there was a massacre where an extra unit got placed there, so that's now more heavily defended. The fight here for Wickford is a little bit less ineffective. This ended up hurting them, and I think this was actually the massacre. It ended up hurting the colonists, but they're still not destroyed there. And remember, now the Connecticut colonials can move in against the Narragansetts, and, well, let's take a look at what the victory points are, and I'm hoping I'm getting these right. It's tough. I have a hard time, and it can't really be easily constructed. The provisions lost can, by counting up the spaces on the map. But the actual victory points, you do have to catch them. So, for example, eliminated units here. Eliminated units that the colonists faced are even more, difficult. You can't tell what happened in the last turn, maybe. So, I kind of made a mistake there, and now I've tried to recover it. All right, well, I have to take care of the colonists now. This is going to be their side, English movement in combat, and we'll go on from there. Now the English ended up in a weird situation. Trying to move here to cover Plymouth, they got intercepted, and now they have to fight a battle here. This doesn't count against their total battle markers that they can play, but here's the problem. They can only move 3 forces anyhow. Their other attacks are being made against the Pocasets. They're going to try to knock them out of the war. Instead of moving after Montaup here, it seemed more valuable to actually knock one tribe's reinforcements out for the rest of the game. Now, I don't know if they have any more coming. Doesn't look like it, but there's always the possibility with massacres, etc., that you could get replacements there. So that's something they want to try to avoid, and knocking one of the nations out seems the most powerful way. I'll take care of the battles, come back, and we'll end the turn. And the result here was a success for the colonists, but over here, not so much of one. Remember they had a spy with them? Well, the roll was another spy. So it was worth it for the native player to re-roll a bad die roll. It ended up they each lost 1 stack, and now, or 1 unit, and now the spy is back. Looking at victory points, well, that's where we sit. The natives are definitely doing better at this point. Is it well enough? It's hard to tell. I've not played before, especially. I know Church is going to change the whole dynamics of the game in terms of being able to better traverse the bad terrain, get more activations, and really do a lot more damage. Right now the colonists feel tremendously limited. I would have loved to do something with my Connecticut ones, but I couldn't get even the leader over into New London, which is one of the things I wanted to do. I don't feel like I'm set up terribly well there. I've also still got that threat going on at Plymouth. I've got to do something about that. Alright, well, I think that's the end of this turn. And we'll move on to the autumn turn. Winter's going to be kind of painful. There's no question there. But we haven't seen a lot of pillaging and burning going on. So maybe the numbers aren't so bad. Up this one goes.